Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in absolutely beautiful locations, such as this today, and giving you my thoughts on things that are happening in the world and the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. It's a real privilege to have so many people join me for these walks, so thank you for being here. If you're a returning subscriber, or 1,191, nearly 1,200 people are joining me for these walks. It's insane. So thank you one and all for being here. But let me quickly give you a quick background into the whole subscriber count and why I do that on every video. I want you to understand there's been some very strange things happening on my videos, and especially on the subscriber and the view count. On my last video, I showed a couple of work colleagues just before we left work in the afternoon how many views there were on that video. It was 808, okay? When we came back 2.5 hours later, it was 600. Now, I'm not sure that... I think if you don't like a video, you can hit the dislike button, but I'm not sure you can hit the unview button. But I always bring up the subscriber count to show that more and more people are questioning the narrative of what we're told that is reality, which is wonderful. But, you know, the thing that really strikes me as very, very strange, the subscriber count goes up by, 10 or 15 on each video, which I'm amazed by and ever thankful for. But the view count doesn't go up. So there's multiple reasons why I do this. It's not to big myself up. I'm not trying to blow my own horn. If I could, and trust me, I wouldn't leave the house. But it's all about sort of highlighting more and more people are looking for alternative information, and also to sort of go against the bots that are trying to mess around with people like myself. Anyway, we're here in the forest. Right, have a look at this. These flowers here are called foxgloves, from memory, if I'm right. And it's surrounded by it. And obviously spring is completely sprung because the forest is coming alive with colour. It's beautiful out here today. Absolutely gorgeous. You have these purple ones and also these ones here, the white ones. It's beautiful. So I thought I'd best bring you out here to show you the forest is coming alive. The winter is finally passing over. We've got the bracken ferns are here. They will surround everything. They'll be everywhere very, very soon. But yeah, welcome to the forest. Foxgloves, ferns, colour, life is here in the forest. It's returned to the forest. So today, for those of you who are on Telegram, who are following me on Telegram, thank you, obviously. But I posted a video by a guy called Sir Ken Robinson. And Sir Ken Robinson did the most popular, still to this day I think it is, the most popular TED Talk ever recorded, titled, "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" Now, I posted that video today because it sort of leads into what we're going to be talking about today. Because this video is entitled, "Does Work Kill Creativity?" Okay, so I posted that in there this morning. Now that video from Sir Ken Robinson, it's wonderfully funny, it's brilliantly informative, it is a great video, and it's one of the videos that inspired us to home educate. We don't home educate, we don't follow a curriculum, we don't do any of that kind of stuff. It is, we don't use anything like, there's a little river that runs through here. And we don't do as much as we probably should with the home education, but we, for this period, we are home educating. And it was one of those reasons when the children were small that we decided we'd go down that route because of that video that Ken Robinson did. Now, I'm going to build on that video. It'll be in the description box down below. I'll put the link in there. Have a look at the video. Watch that and see what you think, because I'm going to build on what he says today and to do with when you're an adult and you're working, and touch on a few other bits as well. So let's do it. Okay, so all of us, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your background is, I don't care what your job is, I don't care anything. We are all creative in some way, shape or form. I'm a chef for a job. My job, it's not who I am. I'm a chef for my job, which is a creative sort of field of work, if you want to put it that way. But at the same time, can be soul destroying because because of the repetitive nature of the industry. To be a good chef, you've got to be a robot. You're going to be able to produce the same dish over and over and over again. So the creative part is there when you're actually creating the dishes and putting flavors together and doing all that kind of stuff. But the roboticness of that destroys the creativity of it. So when we talk about creativity, or when I'm going to be talking about creativity in this talk, you have to define it in your own terms and what it means to you and how that impacts on your life and all that kind of jazz. But when I talk about creativity in terms of what we're going to be talking about today, it means your creative outlet. So maybe you have a creative outlet of being a painter, or you draw pictures, or you're a musician, or you cook for fun at home, or whatever your creative outlet is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about creativity today. Okay? All right. So for many years, I would call myself a creative. I would call myself a creative person. I build things. I write stories. I've written a full-length movie. I bought a software program so I could write a movie screenplay. I've got about 5 or 6 books that I'm writing on the go. It's constant. I'm constantly creating and building and doing things because it's how I work. It's a creative outlet. It's fun for me, and it's creativity is not only an expression of you, but it's also a way to relax and to connect with this reality, if we're going to call it a reality, because you're using the reality in imaginative ways, your imagination. And we've talked about Einstein before, was Einstein who Einstein everyone thinks Einstein was, but there's quotes associated, and the quote is what I'm talking about. And Einstein said the only limit to what we can achieve is our imagination, and it's 100% correct. But creativity and imagination are intrinsically linked. Okay, so in Ken Robinson's Sir Ken Robinson's speech, or talk that he did, the TED talk, he talks about children and their creativity, and how school shuts off that creativity because arts and creativity and those creative arts like painting and dancing and all those kind of things are lesser, or are seen as lesser, in this reality that we experience as reality, because the things that we're told that we need, reading, writing, arithmetic, all those kind of things, take precedence over the creative talents. Now, in the talk as well, Ken Robinson talks about the organized, centralized education system came around at the beginning of the industrial age because the industrialists needed people that could work the machinery. Okay, so the centralized education authority came about to prepare people for that industrialized world that they were entering, and the workforce would be able to run machines. So as an adult, when you enter into that matrix, into that system, you are there to be part of the cog of the machine. The rest of your life, the imagination part, is all irrelevant. We're told it's irrelevant. We're told from when we were young children, don't try and be a musician. There's no money in it. Don't try and be an artist. And, not all of us are discouraged from that, which heartens me. Now, I had a conversation with a lady, one of the subscribers on this channel, who calls herself RMRM. Her child, Jake, if you're watching, thanks for watching, is a creative, and an incredible creative. I think he's like 9 years old or something like that. I put the link down for his stuff down in the description box below as well. Unique and talented young man who's a musician. Both of his parents are musicians. They like to do some work at home as well. But they actively encouraged this young child to explore his musical imagination. And he created a whole album, with his parents' help, of course, and put it onto YouTube. It is incredible, absolutely incredible. And it's incredible to the point where, as an adult, you know, who when I was young, I used to play an instrument, not well, not well. I've never been able to play an instrument really well. One of those things I'd like to learn, when I have time, of course, which is, we're going to be circling back to that, circle back. Thanks, Jen's Nutsaki. So that, you know, that people like Jake can produce the most amazing things because they have the support and the talent and the imagination to do so, which is actively encouraged in the home and obviously in school, right? But most of us are dissuaded from following our passion, our creative side, our imagination, because there's more important things to think about, right? Now, when we get to our adult age, and if you have managed to hold on to that spark of creativity, that imagination, that flair for the outrageous, the outlandish, if you've managed to hold on to a portion of that, congratulations for a start. I mean, it is with going through the school system, which is designed to tell you that none of that was worthwhile. If you've managed to hold on to that as an adult, it will soon get beaten out of you when you start entering the workforce. Now, this is deliberate, okay? It's 100% deliberate, okay? The same people who brought us these centralized structures of government, education, medicine, same people. They recognized the power of the person. Us, you, me. Now, I'm going to be borrowing from religious texts for this next part here, okay? Now, I am aware of how people view religion. I don't have a high view of religion at all, organized religion, that is, because, as I've said in a talk before, religion is somebody else's belief system. Spirituality is your own belief system. So you get to make the rules of how you believe in what you believe in, you know. That's another thing we've been dissuaded from, an idea of creative energy, a God or a universal consciousness or a Brahma, or, you know, whatever word you like to associate with the grand creator, architect, whatever word you like to use. We've been dissuaded from looking at that, and instead our entire focus has been on science, you know. So science is the new religion. Now, I'll quickly quantify that, if I may. Now, many in science, I'm not going to say all, because, you know, when I spoke to Michael over from NASA, if you've seen those interviews, when I spoke with Michael, he said a great proportion of the scientific community actually believes in God, you know, through organized religion. But they do have a belief system in God. So the idea that all scientists are non-believers, that just have they have no faith in a higher purpose or a higher source or a God or whatever, that's a complete fabrication. Okay, so let's dispel that rumor for a start, because there are a lot of people in the sciences that do believe in a higher God, in a God, including the man that they brought over from Nazi Germany to run the NASA space program. He has a quote from the Bible on his grave. Okay, don't believe me? Go and look. Now, when I talk about borrowing from religious texts, I want you to understand something really important. And whether you believe in God, whether you believe in a religion or anything, is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. I went to a Catholic school, so we had to read the Bible. I've got an understanding. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, not a theologian. I'm an ordinary guy who uses my time, the things I've come into contact with over my life, and my interests to bring messages out to help you understand my perspective on how the world is. Okay, now this isn't truth. This is my truth, how I see things. You've got to decide what's true for you. Okay, Now, when we look at religious books, especially with the Bible, okay, the Bible for lawyers and for many subjects is a reference book, okay? Now, I'm already going to hear people scoffing and say, that's ridiculous, Chris. But it is. So the Bible has been used as not only a reference book in law, but also for language, okay, and referencing words. Okay, so it's a reference book. The Bible is a reference book. Now, the veracity of the information inside and all that kind of jazz, what you need to understand is a lot of the Bible is parables. They're for stories to demonstrate a message. Okay? So when I'm talking about the Bible, I'm not talking about a religious viewpoint. I'm talking about a parable, a story, a concept, an idea to get the point across that comes through history. Okay? You with me? Okay, so when we're talking about the Bible or religious texts in general, because you have different religious texts, the Jewish have got the now I'm going to stretch my mind. Anyway, the Jewish religious books, you have the Hindus, you have the Vedas, which I think is the Hindus. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Bible for Catholics, you have the thingy for Muslims. You know what I'm talking about. I can't think of the words, but all these religious books and volumes have stories to bring forth a message. Now, in the Bible, which I'll be referencing here, it said, in the beginning, God created the world, and, so there's this creative input, okay? So science would have us believe that it was all just a happenstance, a lucky happenstance that we're here, a giant explosion from nothing, right? That created everything, and everything just happens to work perfectly in mathematical precision, accidentally. You're an accident here, being here in this reality, exactly the right distance from the sun to sustain life. Everything to do with you was an accident. This is what science would have us believe. You evolved from a monkey. You're in a vast universe that just happened to pop into existence from nothing, and you're a happy, lucky accident. That's what science would have us believe. So it is taking away and diminishing your power, your power as a creative, imaginative human being that the religious books tells us you are created in God's image. Okay? Now, the same books and the same stories and when we're talking about the referencing evil and Satan and the devil and all those kind of things, hang on, I'll take a slight step back. So we were created in God's image, we're told, and we were given free will to choose how we acted and how we were responsible in this reality. Okay? Now, also in the same story, the same parables, the same messages, the lessons that are there, it told us about the evil, Satan, devil, whatever you want to call it, who was cast down from heaven, is not creative, right? And brings no creativity, but can control others through messaging and lies and fear and doubt and worry and all those kind of negative emotions. Okay? So if you have a look at how our world is structured, this centralized control grid, this centralized control grid that decides what money we're going to use, what words we can use, what we're allowed to do, and what we're not allowed to do. So when we come into this existence as free-thinking, imaginative, free-willed beings, and then we're faced with the reality of being told that we're not allowed to do certain things, we're not allowed to say certain things, even though it's based in rules that were made up by people within this reality, this game, whatever you want to call this thing that we're living in. Okay? So initially we're thrust into this with no rules and a set of principles or morals that we have to sort of just decide what works for us as we move through it. But we have this centralized control grid that tells us, no, all that free will, all that free thinking, all that imagination that you thought you were allowed to have, sorry, we don't allow that. Now, In children, it's easy to control because you have them, there's a teacher before their class, and parents are usually going to work, and the teacher has complete free reign over what the children learn. Well, not the teacher, but the system, the curriculum. But the teacher is trained to teach those children. Okay? So it's a captive audience. They don't have a choice. And now what people are finding, what parents are finding, is the things that the children are learning, like 5-year-old children learning about sexuality, means that the structure of that systems needs to be questioned. Now, when you're an adult and you move into these systems like work and all that kind of stuff, especially with what's happening now with the inflation that's out of control. Inflation's always been out of control, okay? You need to understand that. We've talked about that ad infinitum, okay? It hasn't, I've battered the point to where everyone's like, oh, please don't talk about inflation anymore. It's insane. But we have to, because it is a theft of your time, your resources, your energy, your sweat equity that you put into the system. So all these things are set against us so that it robs us of our time and our energy, okay? So especially now, with where we see massive inflation and prices on the rise and the cost of living going up constantly, that we find ourselves as adults trapped in this system, which means you have to work more, which means you have to give away more of your time, and you have more stress on your shoulders because of the weight and the burden of the debt that everyone is consumed by, not only personal debt, but government debt where they're borrowing from a privately owned central bank and then doing whatever they're going to do with money, like purchasing weapons and sending it to a different country, or wasting it on parties or government events that do nothing for the people, but only enrich the people who are involved in them. So we have all this pressure on us, this debt pressure, the financial pressures and your time pressures and all this thing. So how much creativity do you think you can muster when you have all that pressure on you? Let me tell you, as a creative, who's someone who likes to write, who likes to build things, who likes to do all those things, the more pressure, the more stress you have on you, the less creative you can be. Because you need to be able to feel connected to that creativity. You need to be able to disconnect from all the noise, the pressure, the worry, the doubts, the fears, and all that kind of noise and nonsense that we're constantly bombarded with every day. You need to be able to disconnect that so you can be creative. But if it's constant and it's non-stop, it's a barrage coming at you constantly every day, how can you possibly be creative? Now, when we look at what's happening at the World Economic Forum right now, we have this Klaus Schwab with his German accent. I mean, look, if you could write the ultimate villain in a movie, Klaus Schwab would be it. He's got the German accent, he's got the accent, he's got a bald head. All he needs now is a cat that he can pat while he's on stage talking, okay? Because just the other day, he came out and he was talking to the people at the World Economic Forum. Now, if you don't know what the World Economic Forum is by now, you haven't been here long enough, or you haven't been listening. Go back and listen to some of my other videos. It is basically the world's millionaires and billionaires getting together every year at Davos in Switzerland and telling the rest of us how we're going to live. Now, Klaus Schwab came out the other day and he said, "We will build the future for the people." Now, the thing that you need to understand, and why this is such a big deal and why I'm talking about it today, is creativity innovates, okay? Now, you can be the biggest big brain in the world and go to university and have all these ideas and blah, blah, blah that's been programmed into you by the system. Or you can be someone who's never been through that and have a creative imagination, come up with creative solutions to problems that no one's ever seen before, because you haven't had that indoctrination of the school and the work and all the kind of bullshit that goes along with it. Now, these people, Klaus Schwab and the gang over there, they don't innovate shit. They rely on people who are creative and imaginative and who go out and do stuff, and then they buy them. And if they don't buy them, they threaten them. Okay? This is what we're dealing with. The people who are running the show, they make up the fake money, they create it out of nothing, it's not real, and then they buy out the people who are creative and imaginative. And that's evidenced by the people who have come up with engines that run on water. Or, there's a guy just recently who died, who had a car that he converted to run on hydrogen from water, And people have done that through history. People come up with electric cars and all these kind of things. The big corporations like GM buy them out, and then they just shelve the idea. They buy the patent, they buy the concept, and then they shelve it. They never release it. Because they don't have imagination. They've got no imagination, no integrity. All they have is a bunch of money that they've got through fraud and intimidation and all sorts of other things. But look what's happening right now. What we have now is a situation in Ukraine where money is being laundered from all over the world. We've got America sending over billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars. The UK sending over tens of billions. Every country in the world is sending tens of billions of dollars to Ukraine. Where's the money going? Where do you think it's going? So this is the thing that I really want to harp on is imagination and creativity is the key, the divine spark in all of us that will change the way that we live in this reality. But because of the work pressures and the money pressures and all the other pressures and the fear and the doubt and the panic and the worry that's being pressured on us every single day through the media, through the governments, through the financial systems, all of that is deliberate to keep you in a fear state, which means you can't access that creative, wonderfully imaginative part of your brain that will help you to solve problems in a way that's never been done before. Now, I know that there's people who are going to mock this and say, oh, you're just making excuses, Chris, and blah, 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 blah. Now, as an imaginative, creative person, I know. I work 6 days a week. I have young children. I have a wife. I have things that I have to do. I've got a business that I run. All the things that come with everyday living take so much energy, so much stress, so much pressure. In order to be creative, I have to stop myself from everything, disconnect from everything, and go and listen to some music or do something to help me get into a mindset where I can actually come out and make these videos because, believe it or not, I don't use a teleprompter. There's no palm notes here. This is me having to come out here, understand what I'm talking about, have a look at the wider world, and then present that in such a way that people are going to want to watch it because it's easy for me to come out here and talk in these beautiful places. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. But if you don't know the subject matter, if you can't be creative and, make up stuff as you go along, then you're not going to have that engagement. And this is the same with everything that we do in this world. The creative, imaginative part of all of us is being stifled and being tramped on to keep us exactly where they want us, in a state of fear, panic, and worry and doubt. So, what do we do? What do we do? Because if we're going to be faced with a situation where you are, your creative spark, your imagination, the thing that you rely on to be able to create and innovate and change the way that we do things in reality, if that's going to be stifled by the amount that you're working and all the things that you come into contact with. Good morning, how are we doing? Morning. Strolling on, talking to myself. Have a great day. If you're going to be stifled, then how are we going to change the world? We are going to have to rely on the likes of Klaus Schwab and his cronies to create the world as they see it. Or we could finally recognize that we are creative, divine spark individuals that have influence and sway over this reality with our thoughts and our imagination, the words that we speak, the way that we interact with each other. And we can develop new systems, new ways of doing things that doesn't involve the people that want to control us. So, as I've said before, I'm going to be talking with people who have different ideas about how to do things. I'm going to be doing things myself, like doing a bicycle wheel wind turbine. That's coming in the next few weeks. I promise you I will do that. I'll also be talking about Atlantis and talking about a bunch of different subjects as I go along. But it is, at the moment, with my time pressures that I have, my time to be and do these things is very limited. So bear with me. But I will bring these things to you as I can. And where I can find innovations and new things that will benefit us all, then I'll bring that to you as well. But in the meantime, what we need to do is focus, and creativity and all that kind of Imagination is like a muscle. You need to be able to work with it to build it so that you can use it when you want to use it. Now, there's plenty of courses and things you can do and ways that you can get your imagination working every day. If you're a writer, write a little bit every day. You know, if you use your creativity or imagination to cook, then do that. But do a little bit every day to build that muscle. And it's like going to the gym. You go to the gym and you work on your muscles. You don't come out after the first day and go, "Whoa, why aren't I buff? I'm never going back again." You need to work it. You need to keep on doing it. Small things every day to help you move forward. A little bit, and it adds up to a whole lot in the end. Morning. So that's my advice. Work on your creativity, work on your imagination a little bit every day and build on that, because we're going to need that. We're going to need that source of divine spark to help us move through these troubled periods that we're going into. So, what do you think? What do you think of the talk today? Do you think I was accurate? Do you think that work does kill creativity? I'd love to know your thoughts. Drop them in the comments box below. Have a look at the two videos. Like I say, Sir Ken Robinson, the video Does School Kill Creativity? Amazing, really funny, really, really good. And check out Jake's video down below as well. The link to his music, incredible. And I want that to inspire you. If a 9-year-old can do something like that, what are you capable of? So they say at the end of all my talks, go out into the world, do good and be good. And you can change the world with your thoughts, your actions, the way you speak and the way that you interact with each other. So do that. Let's change the world together. And don't rely on the likes of Klaus Schwab telling us that we will control the future because we will create it. They're not going to create anything. It's up to us. What are you going to do? All right, look after yourself, look after each other. Thank you so much for being here, one and all. I look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care. Ciao for now.